One of humanity's oldest questions is also its most mysterious. What happens to us after we die? From ancient burial rituals to modern neuroscience, every culture, every era has tried to answer it. Whether you're spiritual or skeptical, there's something deep within us that wonders. Is there something more after this life? Across different cultures, many believe that our consciousness exists beyond the body, that even when the heart stops, the mind may not. We may drift in an ethereal state between realms. Others believe in the judgment of the soul and its appropriate placement in heaven or hell, something I covered in my previous video. Some cultures embrace the idea of reincarnation, the soul returning in another form. Others, like many atheists or materialists, argue that consciousness is simply a product of highly advanced neural networks, and when those networks shut down, that's it. We return to dust. But maybe it's not that simple. Today, on the Black Manuscript, we're diving into ancient beliefs, near-death experiences, and quantum neuroscience to ask, what happens to the soul after death? The ancient Egyptians had one of the most complex and spiritual understandings of what happens after death. And at the heart of that belief was the soul, which they believed had multiple parts, each with its own function. When a person died, the body was preserved through mummification, not just for tradition or status, but because the Egyptians believed that the soul could not function properly in the afterlife without a preserved vessel. They believed the soul continued to exist after death, but only if the proper rituals were performed. The soul was composed of several elements, but the most important were the Ka, Ba, and Ak. Ka, this was the life force, the vital essence that left the body at death. It needed sustenance in the afterlife, which is why tombs were stocked with food, drink, and goods. The Ka was believed to remain near the body, which is why the tomb had to be maintained and rituals performed regularly. Often depicted as a human-headed bird, the Ba represented the personality, the unique character and individuality of a person. After death, the Ba could move between the living world and the realm of the dead. It would return to the body at night to reunite with the Ka, which is why the body had to be intact. Ak, this was the transformed spirit, the immortal part of the soul that emerged after death, but only if the deceased passed the tests of the underworld, including the weighing of the heart. The Ak was the blessed spirit that could dwell among the gods and stars. To secure this journey, elaborate funerary texts like the Book of the Dead were written to guide the soul through the perils of the underworld. Magic spells, passwords, and sacred knowledge were believed to be necessary to protect the soul and ensure safe passage. At the end of the soul's journey, if the heart was judged to be pure and light, balanced against the feather of Mayat, truth and justice, the soul would pass into a blissful, eternal afterlife. But if the heart was heavy with wrongdoing, it would be devoured by the fearsome goddess Amit, ending the soul's existence forever. From a scientific standpoint, the idea of the soul, an invisible, conscious essence, is not something we can currently measure or detect. But that doesn't mean science hasn't made compelling discoveries about what happens to us in the moments just before and after death. One of the most fascinating modern insights comes from Dr. Stuart Hameroff, an anesthesiologist and professor at the University of Arizona, and Sir Roger Penrose, a mathematical physicist and Nobel Prize winner. Together, they proposed a theory that consciousness arises from quantum processes within the brain's microtubules, tiny structures found inside neurons. According to their theory, known as OR, Orchestrated Objective Reduction, these microtubules don't just carry signals in the brain. They may be capable of storing quantum information. In other words, our thoughts, feelings and sense of self could stem from quantum-level processes, not just electrical impulses. In a groundbreaking study, Hameroff and his team monitored patients moments before clinical death. As the heart stopped and the body began shutting down, they observed a brief but intense burst of electrical activity in the brain, a surge that defied previous assumptions that the brain simply switches off. This raises the provocative question: could this final flare be the brain's last attempt to process reality? Or perhaps the moment when consciousness detaches from the physical form? Other neuroscientists have noticed similar patterns, a wave of energy across the cortex called a terminal spreading depolarization. While some see it as a purely biological event, others argue it may explain the vivid visions people report during near-death experiences, NDEs, tunnels of light, floating sensations, life reviews, encounters with loved ones. From a strictly materialist view, these experiences are byproducts of a brain under extreme stress, releasing endorphins, replaying memories, and firing neurons chaotically. But if we accept Hameroff's theory, there's another possibility, that this quantum information, this soul in scientific terms, is not destroyed but dissipates into the fabric of the universe. If the person is revived, this quantum information could re-enter the microtubules, which might explain why some people return from death with vivid, transformative memories. If quantum consciousness holds any truth, it opens up an extraordinary idea, that our awareness is not fully confined to our bodies, and death may not be a true end, but a transition. According to the law of conservation of energy, energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. Perhaps the same is true for consciousness. It changes form, but doesn't disappear. Of course, these theories remain highly speculative in mainstream science, but they represent a sincere effort to bridge what we experience with what we can explain. Memento mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember that you must die. It's not meant to frighten, but to awaken. It's a gentle, if solemn, reminder that all things in this life are temporary. And while death may feel like an end, perhaps it is merely a transition. As Dr. Hameroff suggests, it could be the moment our consciousness, our essence, returns to a quantum state, no longer tethered to a physical form. Our time on Earth may be just one layer of existence, a chapter in a much larger story, a story we don't yet fully understand. But if this life has a purpose, even one we haven't discovered, then perhaps the most meaningful thing we can do is live with intention. So embrace the mystery, seek truth, do good, and make this life count.